Good evening, everyone. Welcome everyone to the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, September 24th, 2020, 6 p.m. We'll call this City Council meeting to order. As everyone is aware, we're still conducting our meetings via electronic means via Governor Lee's latest Executive Order 60, which is still in effect. And I'll pass it to City Attorney Litchford for more clarification.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this meeting is being conducted in connection with the Governor's executive order for virtual meetings to be conducted on public meetings. This is being conducted as a result of the state of emergency declared by the Governor, which has been continued as a rise of the COVID. And so we want the minutes to reflect that this body has made a determination for the health benefit and safety of the community. We're having this meeting virtually.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to ask Terry Arnold, the pastor of the Pentecostal of East Ridge Church, if he would lead us in our invocation and then our pledge. If everyone will stand, please.
Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight so very thankful and mindful, Lord, of the blessings of God upon our city, our state, and our nation. We're very thankful, Lord, for the wisdom that you give our leaders. We're thankful for their service to our community. And tonight, Lord, we ask you, as they deliberate in the business of our city, may your wisdom and your grace abound. And I ask you, God, to lead and guide them tonight in a special way. We pray also for our city of East Ridge and Hamilton County that, Lord, your healing virtue might flow to minister to those who are sick, the sick and shut in, and those who may be feeling the effects of this pandemic. We ask you, Lord Jesus, to touch in a very special way. Give strength tonight to each one of our leaders and guide us as only you can. In the precious name of Jesus Christ, our Lord, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Now, if you will turn your attention to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.
You too. Roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Mayor Williams.
Here.
Vice Mayor Helton. Here. Councilmember Cagle.
Here.
Councilmember Chauncey.
Here.
Councilmember Witt.
Here.
City Manager Dorsey.
Here.
City Attorney Litchford.
Here.
All right, we'll move to item 4 on the agenda, the consent agenda. This would be the approval of the minutes for September 10th council meeting, the approval of July 2020 financial statement, and declaration of surplus property. I will entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Chauncey and a second by Councilmember Witt. Do we have any discussion? Yes,
All
sir.
this police department stuff, is that going to be put on the .gov thing?
Chief Allen?
So it'll be sold public instead of,
Yes, sir, that's what I assume.
I was just wondering about the gas mask containers and stuff like that going out to the public.
You'd be amazed what people will buy.
Oh, I know it. I know it.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? I see none. Roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Vice Mayor Helton. Yes. Councilmember Cagle.
Yes.
Councilmember Chauncey.
Yes.
Councilmember Witt.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. All right. Next, we will move into communication of citizens. Since there's no opportunity for live citizen comment during the meeting, any citizen desiring to address the City Council had an opportunity to submit their comments via email to me at mayor@eastridgetn.gov from 12 noon Wednesday, September the 23rd through 12 noon Thursday, September the 24th. Please keep in mind, any citizen or business owner may contact the city, the council, the city manager, or myself at any time. I did receive 3 emails communications that I will read, and then we'll file into the minutes. The first one is from Ed Harding, 1026 Blanton Drive. Subject, Lansdale Park. Dear Mayor, I'm a homeowner in Lansdale Park, 1026 Blanton Drive. I want to express my support for moving forward with the new construction of the condos in our neighborhood, and I have no problem with our streets being closed off. I would hate to see construction of such a wonderful project being stopped because of a few that is not in favor of this progress. Thank you, Ed Harding, homeowner. Second one comes from Edward E. Harding, Edward E. Hunsucker, I'm sorry. This is a message on behalf of Edward E. Hunsucker at 1048 Floyd Drive in Lansdale Park, homeowner. Mr. Hunsucker is supporting the condo project and in favor of the road being blocked off if necessary to further the project and beautification of our neighborhood. I believe that was Mr. Harding's dad, and he sent that on behalf of him, and he did not have the electronic means to send that. Then the third is from Nicole Colson. Nicole Colson, a homeowner, and she is at, where is that at? I'll print that out. I'll get that. It's in Lansdale Park. Thought I had printed. I must have lost a page. I'll get that for you to file away. I do have it in the email. In fact, well, I'll get it in a second. I, Nicole Colson, am a homeowner within Lansdale Park neighborhood in the city of Eastridge, and would like to make it known that I, as well as my family, are in favor of the condos being built, as well as blocking our streets and demolishing the duplexes to the end of the streets in order to complete the project. Since breaking ground, I've seen nothing but positive outcome from our neighborhood as well, and the city can find no issue with the continuance. I find no issue with the continuance of this getting completed. Let be less traffic coming through the neighborhood, in making it safer and quieter for our children to play, as well as other residents in the area. As a mother, I feel this has been a great solution for economic growth within our community and our city, and to abandon it would be an absolute waste. Thank you for your time. That is all that I have for communications of citizens. And I'll get that address here shortly, and I'll read that for the record. So I'll go to Councilmember Witt, if you'll start us off.
Well, I'm excited that we got good information. Hamilton County hit their in at the end of this month on September 30th, but Tennessee was 65.5. Hamilton County was 67.4, but Eastridge is 68.1. So I want to thank everybody. We still probably need some to respond, so don't give up before the end of the month. But I also wanted to mention our Community Cares program. We call every Wednesday to various different people in our community, and I have two ladies that I call. Wednesday, neither one of them answered, sort of scared me, but the other one called me back before I told the police they had to go out and visit her. And I called back the other one, and I didn't get her, so the police actually did go out and visit her, and she was working in the attic and forgotten what day it was. So the program is working, but Earl was with me that day, and he was 10 minutes late calling his person, and the person called the police department to find out if something was wrong with Earl. So, so it is working, and we're very happy. And we also got 2 new people signed up, so we're excited.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Councilmember Chauncey.
Just want to say congratulations to Councilmember Witt for your efforts, for the ongoing efforts of the census. Congratulations. I'm sure those numbers wouldn't have been so high if you weren't so involved in it. So, but thank you for that.
Thanks, sir.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Cagle.
Nothing.
Vice Mayor Hilton. Thank you. 1022 Blanton Drive was Miss Causon's address. I apologize for not having that. Must have been the third page. Must still be on my printer at home. All right, so have a few things to mention. First, East Ridge High School Homecoming Parade occurred on Thursday the 17th. The parade began in the old bowling alley, crossed from Food City, and traveled down Ringo Road to Thomas, and then proceeded all the way to the school. I believe this is the first time they've been able to resurrect that parade, and I think they're very tickled to start possibly that tradition back again. So I was very excited that that occurred. Then the following day, East Ridge High School played their homecoming game Friday, the September the 18th versus Sequatchie County, and our Pioneers won a great game, 21-14. They came back. They were down 14-zip at halftime, so that was a very good game. Then I wanted to mention that Blood Assurance Blood Drive is being hosted by East Ridge Police and Fire Rescue Departments. It will be at the Police and Fire area there at the building at 4214 Ringo Road, Monday, September the 28th, 12 noon to 6. Please sign up at bloodassurance.org/ERPD or call 423-756-0966. All donors will get a COVID-19 antibody testing and a choice between a beach towel or a pocket T-shirt. And along those same lines with the fire department, we'd like to congratulate the promotion of Lieutenants Jeff Duncan and Kent Henson to captain. We appreciate their dedication and commitment to our city, and congratulate them on their promotion. I'd like to thank Councilmember Witt for your dedication and efforts for the census. We appreciate it. I knew that you'd do a great job when I asked you to help us in getting that completed and pushed through, and try to get as much counted as we can. And thank you very much for your time and your effort. One other thing I wanted to mention is National Night Out, scheduled for October the 6th. East Ridge City Hall. That'll be starting at 5:30. The City of East Ridge and the East Ridge Police Department will be hosting the National Night Out event here at the City Hall. Booths will be set up along the back lawn of City Hall with safety information, neighborhood watch info, fingerprint kits for children, activities, and food. Also present will be East Ridge Animal Shelter, the East Ridge Fire Department, and other city volunteers. The city will also hand out free face masks and have hand sanitizer on hand, as well as we'll be practicing safety and social distancing. The National Night Out event is the 37th year. I hope I'm not covering something that you were going to cover, Chief Allen. Okay. It is an event that's 37 year and involves citizens, law enforcement agencies, and civic groups, businesses, neighborhood organizations, and local officials from 16,790 communities from all 50 states and U.S. territories. The National Night Out is designed, one, to heighten crime and drug prevention awareness, generate support and participation in local anti-crime programs, strengthen neighborhood spirit and police community partnership, and then sending a message to criminals, letting them know that neighborhoods are organized and fighting back. So I think this is a great program, and we appreciate our police department for hosting that in our city. I mentioned it last council meeting. I want to mention it again, that normally the Tennessee River Rescue would be occurring this coming weekend, first Saturday in October, I believe. And due to the COVID, that's been canceled. So Mr. Clark wanted to inform the citizens and the council that this had been canceled, and that he appreciates everything that our community has done to support this over the past years. And we appreciate him and all that they do for our city and cleaning it up. Lastly is you want to cover the public hearing? Okay, then I will not cover that one. Leave you something? All right, so that is it for me. So I'll pass it now to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. First, Councilwoman Witt, I do want to thank you for all this that you've done with the census. You have put a lot of energy and effort into that, and it shows, and I appreciate that. You did mention, though, tonight, you have like boxes of trinkets and swag
Well,
to,
I thought the mayor.
what, you want to go ahead and?
Sure. What are we gonna do with it? I ordered, 8 boxes of shirts. There's different sizes. They're large, extra large, 2X. So I have to get rid of them some way or another. But they offered us free swag, and Brian said,
National
"Go
Night
for
Out's
it."
coming.
Yeah.
National Night Out. We might want to give them to employees, but we have a ton of them.
Awesome.
You have to see them before we leave.
Lots of swag. Thank you. As the mayor started to allude to, we do have a public meeting tonight at 7:30 over in the community center related to the Camp Jordan Park conversion. This is a meeting that we must have in order to move forward with our conversion process of converting some of our land there that we're looking to do a public-private partnership with the soccer training facility and swapping that for some land just north of the park, which I call Lucan land, where the mobile cellular tower is and things like that. But we'll get more into that at the public meeting. It's at 7:30 over in the community center. And it is how do I say it? It's in-person attendance. There is no virtual links to this meeting. We wanted to make sure we had plenty of room for social distancing and spacing. The chairs are very, very far apart, as Diane can attest. Plus, we want to be able to have comments and reaction right there as we're talking about it. So that's why it's over there as opposed to here, and we're doing it live as opposed to virtual, so we're able to have in-person contact for it at that meeting. So it will not be the internet. We don't have the capability to televise from over there, so it won't be on the internet. It'll just be a live public meeting. That's over there. In addition, the next thing I'd like to talk about real quick is there's been some things written lately in the East Ridge News Online and some other things on Facebook dealing with the hotel motel tax and the fire department. I just real quickly wanted to go over a couple things related to this. I did some research, and it was back in January of 2005, the City Council passed Ordinance 779 to put in a 5% hotel motel tax. It was repealed the very next meeting after some talks with some of the hotel owners, and it was brought back again in March, and it was set at 2%. At the workshops dealing with the hotel motel tax, matter of fact, former Mayor Mike Steele, he was with the Regional Youth Soccer Authority then. He talked with the council about wanting to make improvements in Camp Jordan, specifically soccer fields, to the tune of $1.7 million, and brought forth the proposal that a hotel motel tax be instituted in order to pay the debt for that. Since that point, it was approved. The language in there said it was for public improvements and general obligations of the city, which is basically boilerplate language that was in there, but it said it was the proceeds would be placed in the general fund. In March of 2012, Ordinance 911 came along, and it raised the percentage from 2 to 4%. One change that ordinance also made was that it moved it from the general fund to the debt service fund, so it would be used for projects out there. With that being said, I have always been under the impression, as well as the finance director, that the money in the hotel motel tax has been earmarked for tourism, sports, things of that nature down at the park, because that's what its intent was when it was passed in March of 2005. With that being said, there has been talk about why can't we use some of that money on a ladder truck for the fire department. Well, technically that money legally could be used for that, but as we have said, it's been earmarked for Camp Jordan and for things of that nature, because that tax is paid for by transient people, which is tourists that come through, stay in the hotel, spend their money, and leave. So by using that on Camp Jordan, you are having people that come in, use Camp Jordan for tournaments and things, stay at our hotels, and then we'll move on. So it sort of self-generates that tax and keeps it going. So that's one of the main reasons that I believe it's been earmarked for that purpose. Back to the fire truck. There's been talk about why can't we spend it on a ladder truck? Well, to be honest, we don't need a ladder truck right now. I have talked to Chief Williams, and I don't want to put any words in the chief's mouth, so if you want to ask him some questions, he may come up here as well. But his top priority would be a fire engine. At the moment, we have some maintenance costs that are rising a little bit with the fire engine to the tune around, last year you spent 30-something thousand because you put a new engine in that a new rebuilt engine in that fire engine. The year before, the 2 years before, we spent about 25,000 total on maintenance for everything within the fire department. So even though the maintenance costs are starting to rise a little bit on that engine, the engine's fully functional, and there's at least 2 backup engines for that. I've had a talk with Mayor Williams about this, and within the next year or two, we know there's going to be further development, especially down near the Red Wolves facility, and we're hoping for that development to bring in more people, which you said obviously would be more fire calls, medical calls, calls for service, whether it's fire and police. So we know that the time will be coming where we will need to invest in a new piece of apparatus for the fire department. But right now, we are doing fine with what we have. We also have mutual aid, which is in place with 10 stations around. And I'm going to stop at this point and let you pick up. But basically, we have mutual aid in place that helps us with if we have a ladder truck need, if we have other bumper truck needs, things of that nature that we're able to use until we get to the point where we might be able to worry about a fire apparatus, because we also need police vehicles as well. There's a lot of infrastructure needs the city has that we're slowly working on budgeting and working our way through. But I'll turn it over to you, Chief, for a second.
Welcome to.
I want everybody to see who I am. I don't want to hide behind a mask and be accused it was someone else up here. There has been a lot of questions. There's been a lot of conversations. Me and Mr. Dorsey have had many discussions on the ladder truck. Even at the beginning of this budget, we made some decisions, and due to the coronavirus and things, it was not feasible at the time. The ladder truck is 27 years old. We've maintained the maintenance on it. It is in service at this time. Does it need to be replaced in the future? Sure. Without a doubt. 27-year-old truck, okay? Where we are today, I look at priorities. And at the top of the priority list, this ladder truck is not at the top of the priority list, okay? The ladder truck is right below the top, which, of course, there's a lot of priorities, but an engine company is our #1 priority right now. And the reason I say that, you remember several years ago, we had a engine that we had some mechanical issues out of. We went through different process having that repaired. We have had a continuous problem with this truck. It goes further than what we anticipated. But in the future, I would ask that the council, mayor and council, consider the next large purchase for the fire department to be an engine company to replace that truck. We can sell it. We'll get a little bit of money off that. Maybe even use that toward the purchase of a new truck. That'll help. There's some other ideas that we've kicked around, some different options that we've talked about. Revenue that comes in that's not necessarily dedicated for the fire or police, but Ridgeside. The city of Ridgeside pays so much for fire and police services. So we looked at that option, and discussed that. Of course, that'll be left up to council to make those decisions on how that money is distributed. Now I think it goes in the general fund, and from there it goes to city services or whatever the city decides it for. Just be aware. We've had like I said, we've had a lot of discussions. There's been a lot of stuff on Facebook. Just know that if you've got a question about the fire department, don't hesitate. Ask me. I'll tell you the truth. I feel like right now our #1 priority is an engine company. After we get that engine company, then don't be surprised if I come back and start tooting this ladder company up, or more manpower or equipment. I live here. I grew up here. I want this to be the best. Okay, I owe it to the citizens of East Ridge for us to be the best, to be able to provide every service that we can to them at the cost that we bring in on taxes. And you very seldom see the fire department come back in front of council asking for more money throughout the year. We have a budget, we work off that budget. We understand this year with the coronavirus, we're going to have a lot of issues. We tightened down, you know. We're definitely a team player, you know, in the city services. That's kind of where the fire department stands. Anybody got any questions? I knew you would, Councilman Cagle.
This one you say is 27 years old. Is that one of the very first ones we bought?
It is.
Okay. Now here, 2 years ago, we bought another engine.
5 years ago.
5 years ago, it was a 2011 model.
We have a 2000, the
used
latest model we have is a 2015 engine. We have a 2010 engine, 2005 engine, and then we have a 1993 engine and a 1993 ladder.
During all my research this week, I've run into something where we purchased a 2011. I'll have to go back and look that up again. What I was going to say is, let's don't be buying the more.
I say
used ones.
2010, it could have been manufactured, and it say 2011 on the manufacturing paperwork.
But it was used because it's in some stuff that I've got.
Yes, sir.
So I'd like to say we don't buy no more used ones, let's buy new ones. And the engine that you're having problems in, is it in this 27-year-old truck or is it in another?
No, it's in a 2010 model truck. I'm sorry. Yes, that's correct, 2010 model truck. The 2010 Rosenbauer that we just settled a lawsuit against a business here in the city of Chattanooga. An engine rebuilt.
Not having any more trouble with the engine? Truck.
That's the engine that we're having most of our trouble with. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Only thing I have is more of a statement than a question. I appreciate you very much. I reached out to you and asked some questions about mutual aid. I had about 6 or 8 questions, and you replied in very much detail and was very informative, about 5 pages worth. And I think it's very, very informative that we could maybe even share that with other council members. If you have don't have a problem, I'll send that to them. Explaining the number of mutual aid agreements we have, the number of times we've used mutual aid, the locations of where ladders are and other equipment and response times from those locations. Very informative information that I wanted to check with you and share that with the other council members and anyone else that would like it. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Mayor, are we
Thank
paying
you, Chief.
are we paying a rate or a fee for those mutual aid agreements?
No.
No.
It's free just to have the mutual aid agreement.
Right. Well, because it
Because
goes
we're part
both
of
ways.
it too. Because we're part of it too. So.
Okay.
So I just wanted to talk about that for a couple minutes, because I know it's been out there and been talked about, but
I'm sorry, Mayor, was there a question?
I had asked you if the city was paying a rate or a fee for the mutual aid agreement
We
itself.
do. We do pay a rate for mutual aid. It's $100 a year for membership.
So everybody's a membership.
That's it.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
we respond and we receive. We had rather give help to our neighbors as receive it, of course.
Right.
thank you for
So it's
clarifying.
more of a membership.
Right. Not an actual user fee, but membership. Okay. Were there any other questions on that? If not, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, we'll move to item 8, old business, which there is none. So then we'll move straight into new business. Item 9A, ordinance number 1136.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, to amend the zoning regulations in the zoning map of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, so as to rezone the properties located at 6501 McCall Road, tax map number 169E-D-004. Next property address 6505 McCall Road, tax map number 169E-D-003. Property at 6509 McCall Road, tax map number 169E-D-002. And property at 6513 McCall Road, tax map number 169E-D-001, from R2 Residential Duplex District to C4 Planned Commerce Center District.
And this is would be the first reading on this. Assistant Chief Custer, I believe you're going to discuss this, or City Manager?
That's correct. Mayor and Council, on Monday, September the 14th, the East Ridge Planning Commission voted unanimously to approve the rezoning for 6501, 6505, 6509, and 6513 McCall Road from R2 Residential Duplex District to C4 Planned Commerce Center District, provided that under Article 5, Section 1403, uses permitted shall only be Section F. And basically, the reason why we wrote the memo that way and the ordinance was it listed a number of other uses, but as stated in the Planning Commission, they wanted that use to be for residential only on these parcels that are before you for the rezoning case. This project, the proposed rezoning, the continuation of C4 zone would allow for an influx of approximate $7 million investment of new housing in that area. It would eliminate the duplexes that have somewhat plagued the neighborhood for many years, according to the Lansdale Park residents. And it would also add to construction of new infrastructure of stormwater. Most of the residents down there have been raving about, how stormwater's changed down there over the last year, and have seen that as an added benefit. So, Planning Commission voted to move this to City Council for approval. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. I know there'll probably be some discussion on this, but I'd like to entertain a motion for ordinance number 1136.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 1136.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Councilmember Chauncey and a second by Vice Mayor Hilton. Do we have any discussion?
Yeah, I do. Mr. Custer, could you explain to us again why that the developer wanted the C4 zoning rather than the RT1?
Yes, sir. So under the current residential zoning, it requires a 25-foot setback, which is pretty common with most of your residential zonings. When we did when we made some zoning amendments to the code approximately a year and a half ago, we added all the commercial zones and allowed for a 5-foot setback from the right-of-way.
Thank you, Kenny.
The engineers are also on, and they may be able to shed some light on that as well.
The reason why I ask is I know maybe all of us received an email from a resident that lives in Lansdale Park that was asking that same question. So that was why I asked you to explain that to us. So thank you for that.
And Kenny, this is Alan Jones, if I may, Council. Just reiterate what Kenny said. It's from a housing development perspective. The UGC or the C4 that we're looking at rezoning is the best tools that we can use for the townhome development that we're looking at providing here.
I have a question.
Thank you, sir.
I
Yes, ma'am.
too received an email from a person in Lansdale Park. They're not against the project, and I talked with them. I guess what they're asking is that we meet with them about the public hearing, and I'm not sure how we're conducting the public hearing. So how are the public hearings going to go if the people in the park that are for it talk with us?
Well, that's one thing we talked about, you and I, earlier today, to make sure they have a chance to have their voices heard. A public hearing is important, especially live in real time. We will look at a way to make sure we have public interaction on that. A couple options are we could do the public hearing across the street over at the community center for that portion of the meeting. We wouldn't be able to show that part live on Facebook or anything, but we could do that over there. We could also do it in here and just fit the amount of people that we can for that particular meeting in here, or we could let them participate via Zoom. I'm just a little leery of the Zoom option, but if we need to do that to make sure this happens, then that's something we can do, because the mayor and I have talked about Zoom is not We try not to let that be an open public forum, because you've heard what's happened in other cities that have tried to use that where it gets hijacked and things happen to it and things of that nature. But yes, for the second reading, there's always, for planning for these sort of things, there's always a public hearing. And that would be the point where the residents would get up, ask the sort of questions that were in that particular email you're referring to, and that's when they could get their answers. That public hearing is always before the second reading of the ordinance for that.
The other thing, I know that they send out notices for the planning committee meeting. How do we notify the people on our website of how we're going to be holding this public?
Councilmember Witt, it might be a different question, but I did want to say that the notices that were sent out prior to the planning commission meeting to all the residents within a radius, there were special instructions to email me, the chairman specifically, for any concerns, to address any concerns, or whether they're opposed to it or in favor. And they had until noon the day of the planning commission meeting to email me to address those concerns. And I did read those emails off during the meeting.
And there was a large sign there too, wasn't there? The large yellow sign?
Yes. So that was just a little bit of maybe of a public hearings where residents did have the opportunity to address any concerns or questions via email. But I do know they'll probably have the same opportunity to do it when it goes before council as well.
Yes. And as you know, we would have it on the website. We have it on our city page. It will be out through Facebook and things of that nature as well.
I just want to make sure that everybody in Lansdale Park understands what procedures we're going to exercise. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, so as it relates to zoning notices are to be sent out, I believe it's within any property that comes within 300 foot of the subject property being rezoned.
Okay.
That's who receives the notices.
But that's only sent out for the planning commission. It's not sent out for the public hearing, though.
It is sent out for the public hearing as well.
Oh, thank you.
Corrected.
Okay. Thank you, Kenny. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I think that relieves a lot off of the Lansdale Park people. There are people, I haven't met anybody that's against it. They just have questions,
Right.
and they just want their questions answered. So
Rightfully so.
I'm glad to know that they're not against it.
And I will say this again. I said this during the planning commission. I am free to speak and engage with anyone, and they're welcome to reach out to me via email. It's kcuster@eastridgetn.gov. You can call me at the office, and I'm more than happy to answer any question or concern, or just listen. And that's with any zoning case or any issue with the city that's going on. So just feel free to reach out anytime.
And I do know that the person that sent the email had an opportunity to talk with y'all. Their concern is to make sure that the other people in Lansdale Park hear, what, any questions.
And I had 2 voicemails today that were very lengthy, and both were 100% in support of the project because of what they thought would be happening with the neighborhood and all the positive impacts that it could have as well.
I had a text conversation with someone further away from the complexes than required to send out notifications.
Mr. Custer, could you real quickly talk about the cul-de-sacs and all that, and how that is separate from this zoning?
Yeah, absolutely. During the planning commission meeting, I did bring up the idea, the concept I had been working with some engineers on about creating some cul-de-sacs throughout Lansdale Park. Over the years, many residents have come to us and, tired of the through traffic. People, Spring Creek backs up, whatever the case may be, Ringo Road, people will use Lansdale Park as a cut through. As some explained, a raceway through their neighborhood. So we did create a concept which was separate and apart from the rezoning. After the meeting we had with some citizens the other day, it wasn't that they wasn't in favor of the cul-de-sacs. They just were, they liked having the two means of egress, as you would say, using North Smith and also using Spring Creek Road. But then some also understand the value of having a cul-de-sac to where you don't have that through traffic. You can eliminate that. So if you're a resident, you're a visitor, you're coming there, if you're somebody trying to disrupt the public or do, commit a crime, you're maybe a little less likely to do that just for egress. But it's separate and apart from this rezoning. It's just a concept that we put out there to see if the neighbors like that. When we had the meeting the other day with a few of the residents, we did say that we'd be more than happy to have a public meeting, public input session, specifically on cul-de-sacs. We know those streets down there are bad. That was in Basin 10. We've been unable to do any paving projects there. So if we were going to do the paving project sometime, hopefully maybe in the spring, the summer of next year, if we have the funds in the state street aid, that would be the time to already have this plan in place. So we would have a public meeting about that specifically well in advance of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
All righty. I'm not against them down there. I agree with everybody about the duplexes need to be tore down, disposed of and everything. But I have a little problem with the fact that we're putting in 11 fourplexes. 44 apartments down there, 44 more families. Double it and say there's 96 more automobiles going to be going out of there. Which way are they going out? Are they going out North Smith, or are they going to come out the other end and come out up towards Spring Creek Road?
As it stands right now, they would be free to use Lansdale Park. If they end up cul-de-sacing that as a future proposal, they would only have access to North Smith.
Okay, so we're talking about cul-de-sacs on Blanton, Lansdale.
And McCall.
This is the first time I've seen one of these.
But may I ask, if once the development gets further along, they'll also have access into the development and out through Spring Creek, correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Say that again.
So once the development is complete and they've got the interior road, then they would also be able to go through the development and exit out on Spring Creek Road as well. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, over here in the ordinance, it states that this is going to be used strictly for condos and things, and the condos are going to be on the second story, correct?
I believe it reads and/or some of those, yes. But I believe as the Planning Commission stated specifically that these 4 units were residential only.
Okay. So what is going to be used in the bottom if these are going to be on the second story?
It'll be all residential. There'll be no commercial on the first floor of these units.
Okay, so the first and second story both will be residential.
That's correct. The McCall Road side of the condos are a 2-story, both 2-story residential units with a garage. The ones that will face the development are actually 3-story units, and those are also just all residential units.
First floor, I'm emphasizing the first floor, second floor, third floor. Now, they're all going to be residential. No commercial on the first floor.
That is what is directed by the Planning Commission. And that verbiage can be changed in here if we need to clarify, but
Well,
yes,
that's
the
what I'm
planning,
afraid
that
of
was
6 months
completely
down the
clear.
road.
They took out every one of the options but section F.
Right, that's what I'm worried about 6 months down the road, is the verbiage being changed. Bottom floor being used for commercial and adding that commercial back into it. So, are there,
Wouldn't that have to be changed by the council? If you make a change in something in 6 months, it's going to have to come to you all for a vote.
you're right. But I'm wanting to see if I can amend this to where it couldn't come back to us in 6 months and change it back to commercial.
You can't put a stipulation on there that prohibits the ability of somebody to come back and modify the zoning. You can't permanently do something like that. You do what's allowed by the zoning ordinance. My understanding, in talking with you, you wanted to put it as the apartment, townhomes, condominiums, keep it residential. which is what can be done tonight by amending the reading as it is here today, but can't put a prohibition on land that it can never be rezoned. That can only be done through deeds, through conveyance of private conveyances.
Okay. So, all of this in here is, I've done asked you about it, and you come back and told me all of this bottom part of this paragraph is gonna be struck out and not be passed on tonight.
That's what I heard Mr. Custer say, that if we need to reword this as it's proposed, it would be limited to the apartment, townhomes, and condominiums with residential use only.
It states the bottom floor can be used as commercial.
Now, that language in there relates to the other commercial activities that would otherwise be permitted, those, what is it, A through M, I think, under the 1403 in the zoning ordinance, which are not, all those are taken out. As it's written, I also, you don't have to take those out because there is no allowed commercial activity because the only uses that are permitted are apartment, townhouses, and condos. That additional language there where it says provided, however, that all permanent residential, and it goes on and talks about principal commercial activity. Those commercial activities are what is listed in A through M under section 1304. So, which are not allowed because those are taken out. If you want to clarify it, you could just move that you approve it or make a motion that the ordinance for rezoning read that Article 5, Section 1403, uses permitted shall only be in Section F for apartment, townhome, and condominiums, and no commercial activity. I want to clarify that. You could clarify it that way. But you cannot prevent a future owner, or even this owner, from coming back later and asking for rezoning. That's subject to council's approval.
Okay, since
We could clarify that in the, it'd be clarified, or we could clear that up language-wise for the second reading, right, Mark?
We could, yes, Mr. Custer.
So,
Knowing that was the intent of the planning commission.
so with what you just stated, that all 3 stories on the back are going to be used for commercial, 2 stories in the front are going to be used for, residential. So we're going to have 18 apartments back there in the back on that.
I'm sorry, it's just all residential, there's no commercial.
I understand that. Now I'm putting in the number of units we got back there for residential, so that'll be 18.
No,
Yeah, I'm sorry. And then on the front, we've got 2 stories, so that'll put us 10, 20 in the front.
so,
Residentials.
Councilman, these units are individual living units that will be 2 to 3 stories per single family.
My question is then, we're going to have adequate number of parking for this project right here, which is on a 2.12 acres for all of these apartments.
This property is also, it's going to border the additional 100 acres. I believe adequate parking is available.
Thank you.
Can he also say that the renderings that I've seen that they have 2-car garages? Correct?
They do have garages, yes.
That'll help with the parking.
Any other questions, sir?
Well, I've got some, but I'm not going to ask them.
Okay. Is there any other questions? I see none. I'll remind that we had a motion by Councilmember Chauncey and a second by Vice Mayor Helton. Roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Vice Mayor Helton,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Well, my question didn't get barely answered, so I'm going to vote no tonight.
Councilmember Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
I'm voting yes, but I want to go forward with the public hearing.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Ordinance number 1136 passed first reading. Again, we'll have a public hearing prior to the second reading. All right, we'll move to item B, resolution number 3080.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, authorizing the city manager or his designee to purchase a Steiner 450 all-wheel drive tractor with a 72-inch rough deck for the street department through the Tennessee Department of General Services statewide contract listing number 66045 pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated 12-3-1201B.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this would be a piece of equipment for us to be able to move, to mow, not only the interstate, but other state right-of-way. We'd be able to purchase this using State Street Aid. We did a demo of this tractor. It works extremely well, given our topography and the moisture content of the ground that's down there. I did have staff reach back out to the vendor and confirm that the wheel kits were correct. That was listed in the original bid, so that bid price is correct at $30,877.98.
Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion for resolution number 3080.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 3080.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Witt and a second by Councilmember Chauncey. Do we have any discussion? I see none. Roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Vice Mayor Helton,
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle, Councilmember Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Move to item C, resolution number 3081.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, approving bids for stormwater improvements on Boyd Street in the amount of $68,631 to be paid for by State Street Aids Fund.
Yes, Mayor and Council, you all remember the discussions we had with those business owners on Boyd Street. This would allow us to go ahead and move forward with this stormwater infrastructure upgrade for integrated concrete at $68,631, and that is correct using State Street Aid Fund, and it is also a reimbursable expense through the Board Region.
Thank you, sir.
And
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I did work and check on their timeline. They're ready to start, so we could move that project pretty fast, I believe.
All right, thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion for resolution number 3081.
Make a motion. 3081.
Second.
I have a motion to approve resolution number 3081 by Vice Mayor Helton and a second by Councilmember Witt. Do we have any questions?
It's the
Yes, sir.
same integrated that done the construction work at Camp Jordan Park.
That's correct, it is.
Any other questions, sir?
No, I got some comments about it.
I don't see any other comments. Roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Vice Mayor Helton,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. I'll move to item D, resolution number 3082.
An initial resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge authorizing the incurrence of indebtedness by the City of East Ridge, Tennessee of not to exceed $1.8 million by the execution with the Public Building Authority of the City of Clarksville, Tennessee of a loan agreement to provide funding for public works projects and to fund the incidental and necessary expenses related thereto.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. This one and Resolution 3083 are intertwined. 3082 is basically a state requirement where we put out, through a resolution, notice that we are going to incur debt. And that's what this one deals with, the 1.8 million. We are looking to do this with the Tennessee Municipal Bond Fund, which we'll talk more about I'll talk about now, but for item E. The bond fund gets their funding through they issue bonds, and this is through the way the state put it together for them. They issue bonds through the Public Building Authority of Clarksville, Tennessee, and that's where they get their money from. I think they just did a $300 million issue this spring to be able to provide low-cost financing for all different municipalities around the state of Tennessee.
Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion for Resolution 3082.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 3082.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Witt and a second by Councilmember Chauncey. Do we have any discussion? Yes, sir.
Reads here, parks projects, is this the Parks and Recreation?
Yes. And that's what they call it, public, because it's a capital project, Public Works.
Our last project down in Camp Jordan.
All the money down as
Does she need in the microphone so we can hear? So that I'm sorry to have you to repeat all that.
okay. Yes, we spent all the last on the renovations that we did and all the upgrades. And this one is going to be done the same way. It's that we will draw it down as we need it. We don't get all the money at one time, so as we pay back, we're only paying back on what we've drawn down so far. And the interest rate is 2.54, which is extremely good, and it's locked in. And we will, for 15 years. We took the lower, we feel like we're good with that, the way the economy's going, the way the Fed has said they're going to keep the interest rates low for right now for the next couple of years, it looks like, due to COVID and all the things we're dealing with that. And like I said, this we will draw down as we need it.
Okay, so last 3 years. $1 million into the park.
Yes, sir. If you remember when Mr. Miller was here, he talked about that, the $4.3 million that it would take to do all the different renovations, and that we would do it in phases because the park is such a draw. And as I could say, from the month of July, where our hotel motel was extremely large, our sales tax that I see from that, was strong. The fact that Chick-fil-A didn't even have their dining room open, and they had their best year, their best month they've had since they've been open. That those people they're down there using that park. My grandkids use that park, so yes, sir. But it will end up being what Mr. Miller talked about almost 5 years ago, to bring it up to be the best in the area, I think.
I don't doubt that, but the $1.8 million, that's to build 4 more soccer fields. Another thing I didn't understand the other night, I forgot to keep insinuating numbered field. Is that a new field in the future, or is that a field we've already?
No, there's four fields plus additional parking, 200 parking spaces. I talked to, matter of fact, Chief Williams, I forgot to mention this earlier. You were telling me about trying to get fire apparatus down the road there through Camp Jordan with all the cars parked on the side. It made it somewhat of a safety issue for you to be able to get to an injury that was there this weekend. Somebody got hit in the eye or a temple or something. But you mentioned that there's been other issues like that down there, so this parking lot will definitely come in handy. But to answer your question, there's 4 new soccer fields. Behind soccer field 7 and 8, there's a field down there, we call it, it's like the hole. It's an unirrigated field that's been down there. It's been used for lacrosse and some other things down that area. And with this project, we decided for a very minimal amount, we're able to go ahead and extend the irrigation over to that field and also raise it to the standard of the other fields. But that field already exists. Correct, Mr. Custer?
That's correct. And the reason why we left it unnumbered is because we're probably going to have to renumber fields after this. So it would just say unnumbered field. Everybody else knows it as the whole.
Soccer field is going to be part of the conversion plan.
These have nothing to do with the conversion plan.
The picture I seen today that we fields out there beside the big field.
Okay, any other questions? I see none. Roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Vice Mayor Helton,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
I'm not ready to spend $1.8 more million on the park down there, so I'm gonna vote no.
Councilmember Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Resolution number 3082 passed. Move to item E, resolution 3083.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge authorizing a loan pursuant to a loan agreement between the City of East Ridge, Tennessee and the Public Building Authority of the City of Clarksville, Tennessee, and the principal amount of not to exceed $1.8 million, authorizing the execution and delivery of such loan agreement and other documents relating to said loan, approving the issuance of a bond by such public building authority, providing for the application of the proceeds of said loan and the payment of such indebtedness, consenting to the assignment of the city's obligation under such loan agreement and certain other matters.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. As I said, this one is intertwined with the one you all just passed. This is the actual loan agreement. As the other was notice of debt obligation, basically.
Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion for resolution number 3083.
I make a motion to 3083.
Second the motion.
We have a motion to approve resolution 3083 by Councilmember Witt and a second by Vice Mayor Helton. Do we have any discussion? I see none. Roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Vice Mayor Helton,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
No.
Councilmember Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Resolution number 3083 passed. Move to item F, resolution number 3084.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, authorizing the city manager or his designee to purchase a 2020 Ford Interceptor SUV from Lonnie Cobb Ford to the Tennessee Department of General Services statewide contract listing number 209 pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated 12-3-1201B.
Thank you, sir. Chief
Yes,
Allen.
Mayor, Council, a few weeks ago, we had one of our patrol cars hit while the officer was working a crash on the interstate, and it's Public Entity Partners, I believe, came down, they examined the vehicle, and they totaled it. It was a total loss. Out of that, we're going to get approximately $12,925 from the insurance, and we need to replace that car. Lonnie Cobb Ford has the state contract in Tennessee, but we wanted to purchase a car from them, and they have one at Truckers Lighthouse in Nashville that is already equipped the way we need it, with the exception of the computer mount, the in-car camera, and the radio, which the radio and the computer mount we have from the wrecked car. So the total cost on that vehicle is going to be $40,517.
Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion for resolution number 3084.
I'll make a motion to approve 3084.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Chauncey and a second by Vice Mayor Helton. Do we have any discussion? Yes, sir.
Says here we're gonna get, $995 from the Buck Fund.
That's
to add
correct.
To this.
Yes, sir.
All right, was it our fault down there?
No, sir.
So is their insurance gonna,
I don't have an answer to that.
Our insurance company will go ahead, they're going to issue a check for us, less our deductible, but they will be in mediation with the other insurance company. We let them handle that for us.
Yeah, it'll be their responsibility to collect from the...
Yes, and then they'll give us whatever we can get.
may not have $20,597 coming out of general. Have it coming out, but it'll be going back.
Any other questions? And I understand the officer was not hurt.
He wasn't in the car.
Yes, so that is great news. Cars can be replaced, or officers cannot. All right, no other questions. Roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Vice Mayor Helton,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Move to item G, resolution number 3085.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a restated and amended use agreement by and between the City of East Ridge, Tennessee and Exit 12 LLC. Mayor, members of the council, I got a call from the attorney for Exit 1 early last week, or I guess at the end of last week, stating that Exit 2 was undergoing a loan finance process in connection with the Jordan Crossing development. Previously, in 2018, a use agreement had been entered into with regard to a triangular portion, which is attached as exhibit to the original use agreement that's in your packet. That triangular portion, that crosshatched portion that's printed there, is part of the right-of-way under the plat for the roadway that was gifted to the city. The road and the configuration that you see in the site plan there in the attachment is exactly how the developers constructed the development of the Chick-fil-A and the building above it, which I understand is the Starbucks. They have since constructed 8 or 10 parking spots along that right-of-way in the crosshatched area. The use agreement provided that they would have indefinite use of that space, provided that the surrounding areas were used for retail operations. As they're going through the financing process to obtain additional funding for other development, their lenders are requiring that the use agreement, that the interest under the use agreement, which is the interest is the ability to use that triangular portion, be part of the interest be collateralized. They're not collateralizing the actual property, they're just collateralizing the interest under the use agreement. What that means is the bank would take an interest in that use agreement such that if there was a default on these properties, as long as these properties are being used for retail commercial, then the bank could find replacement people to put in there, not that would have to stay retail, and they could still have use and access to those 8 to 10 parking spots. And so that was, when I went back and looked, there was a little bit of discussion in there in 2018, but this restated and amended use agreement just simply clarifies that they would be able to collateralize the interest under the use agreement. But I want to be clear, this is not collateralizing the actual possessory interest or ownership interest in that triangular portion.
Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion for resolution number 3085.
Motion to approve resolution number 85.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor Hilton and a second by Councilmember Witt. Do we have any discussion? I have a question. So the ownership will continue to stay the city of East Ridge.
That's correct, Mayor, yes.
And is it an active retail? So they would have to be, when you say retail establishment, it would be,
Right, and that's the terms of it, section B1. They provide here the operations of retail for so long as the area is used in connection with the operations of retail businesses. And that was what was in the original one.
okay.
And so, yeah, if it was ever converted, the city would have the option to take that property back if it wanted to.
Okay, take that use back. Property's still ours. It just
Excuse
take-
me, you're right, Mayor. To take back the use of it.
Okay, all right. All the questions I have. Have any other questions? I see none. Roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Vice Mayor Helton,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Well, the first time we voted in it, I voted no to give it to them, so now I'm gonna go ahead and vote yes on this one because they've already got it.
Councilmember Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. All right. That concludes our regular session. We'll move to item H, the discussion of the tentative agenda for October 8th council meeting, attachment A. So underneath old business, in item A, we would have ordinance number 1136, the public hearing. So this would be the public hearing where anyone would have an opportunity to come and speak for or against the rezoning ordinance, which would follow the public hearing.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
Is that just sent, how far is that sent out? Can it be sent out to?
Honestly, I would say that would start a precedent for other things when there might be larger areas where we have to send things for the postage and stuff. What we could do is we could put a sign at the entrance to the subdivision stating there's a public hearing or something like that.
Yes, ma'am.
I will say I'm going to be canvassing.
That'll work too.
Any other questions on the public hearing? Yes, sir.
I was wondering if we could go ahead and decide tonight, have it over there, public hearing. So there wouldn't be no guessing where it's gonna be, what time it's gonna be, and
Well, before I can answer that, we have to look through what restrictions we may have because you're going into the month of October. And it may be at that point that we have to do, if the meeting is virtual, that it may have to be broadcast live at that point. And so we may not be able to do the public hearing over there if we're doing a virtual meeting still and we're broadcasting. So it may have to be in this room, but people could be outside. We could have people come in if they need to talk or something. We could look at that, but that would be the only reason we couldn't do it over there.
Governor Lee, Executive Order 60.
Yes.
There is a stipulation of one mean that ends in the end of September and another means of electronic or televising that starts in October 1. So, yes, I would recommend us clarifying that.
public hearing can be held.
What does that mean?
We're having the,
Tomorrow, this isn't a public hearing, we're just having a public meeting over there. That is not required to be televised. That is just a meeting, I mean, not being smart, but none of you all even have to go to that if you don't want to. We want you there, obviously, but it's not a required meeting of the city council. This is a meeting for the conversion process.
Where this other will be actually within our council meeting, which is controlled by the Executive Order 60. So we can try to get a decision made quickly and communicate that way before 2 weeks.
Yes.
Do we have any other questions on the public hearing? I see none. We'll move to item B under ordinance number 1136. That's the ordinance of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, to amend the zoning regulation and the zoning map of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, so that we rezone the properties located at 6501 McCall Road, tax map 169ED004, 6505 McCall Road, tax map 169ED003, 165 McCall Road, tax map 169E-D002, and 6513 McCall Road, tax map 169ED001 from R2 Residential Duplex District to C4 Plan Commerce Center District. That would be the second and final reading. Do we have any questions? I see none. We'll move into new business, an unnumbered ordinance for a budget amendment.
Yes, thank you. I sent Ms. Qualls across the way there to start getting ready for the public meeting we're getting ready to have. The budget amendment here is for two items. One is we need to register the fact that we'll be receiving money from the vehicle that was hit. So it's an amendment for the insurance proceeds for that, minus the deductible. And we will also have an amendment for the capital projects fund because we have passed the $1.8 million funding for the Camp Jordan Park. So we'll have to also do a budget amendment to reflect that and expenditures that will go along with it.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions? I see none. We'll move to item B, another unnumbered resolution, rules for tent lottery.
Yes, I've been told that we do tent lotteries here in East Ridge, that to make sure the people that are candidates for office have a specified place to set up a tent for the day of the elections. So this will be my first experience with this. As you all know, the polling place has changed from, there were 3 different places in East Ridge where you could vote. Now all of our precincts are down at the Camp Jordan Arena. With that being said, there's some changes that need to be made to the rules for the tent lottery. Things such as, you still have the 24 hours and things of that nature, but this was more specifically written for city property up here at the community center. The couple things we're going to be adding are the facts that one, we're still having the lottery meeting 7 days prior to the election date at noon in City Hall. Okay. The things we have amended that we were adding are that tents can't come into contact with bushes or trees. No cutting of branches or bushes or any type of damage will be allowed, because we're afraid someone will put a 10 by 10 tent up right there along Camp Jordan Parkway and decide to clip back a few branches of a tree in order to fit their tent. And if we don't put it in here, it could happen. No offense meant to anybody in this room or anybody that's running, but we just wanted to clarify to make sure everybody was aware of that, so we appreciate that. Tents may not be set up or staked down on any paved areas. That includes the parking lot. We don't want to damage those. You must use sandbags to keep the tents in place. We've looked at the areas out there that would be the most beneficial to put tents. It'd be along the main road, basically between the 2 entrances to the Camp Jordan, the arena parking lot, and then there's a couple spaces before that also as well that could be used. So obviously we are going to ask, and last time this wasn't in a resolution, this was just stapled to the resolution. I guess it was just approved by the council afterwards. But we are going to have this memorialized and just have a resolution with this attached to it. So everyone will be on the same understanding and be on the same playing field. And that's all.
Thank you, sir. Do you have any questions? Additional rules for the tent lottery? I have one. So they'll still be drawn out and marked on the ground, so they'll be...
Yes, I believe that's the responsibility of the chief of police,
Okay.
who I have a feeling is going to delegate it to his assistant,
Okay.
assistant chief. But no, you're going to do it? Okay.
Okay. So then we'll have control of where those are, so we can
Correct. They will
deliberately move them away from trees.
No,
so,
they will be
but
marked
it's still
out.
good to
yes.
have this.
And
in
with this, and thank you for bringing that up, though. That will also mean, we're going to be keeping social distancing in place. So they're not going to be right next to each other. There'll be spaces between them.
Okay. Thank you. I'll move to item C, an unnumbered resolution, approval of temporary special event permit for Family Concessions, Inc. for Ducks Unlimited, October the 29th, 2020.
Thank you. There are 3, if you don't mind, I can just talk about all 3 of these at once and then the individual events.
Yeah, well, if you want me to, I can go ahead. The other
Yeah, go ahead.
resolution is the approval of temporary special event permit for Family Concessions for the Beer Garden Spook Out, October the 30th. Then the temporary special event permit for Family Concessions, Inc. for Billy Bully DBA Southpaw Promotions boxing event on November the 7th. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. This is, these permits were given to us by, or applied for by Family Concessions. Those are the concessionaires that are down there at Camp Jordan. And they wanted to go ahead and get these in now. You know, I'm glad they're doing it ahead of time for these 3 events, and they want to be able to sell beer at these events. I believe last year Ducks Unlimited had a permit to sell beer at their event.
Correct.
These other 2 events, I don't know much about the Beer Garden Spook Out yet. I think that has to do with the Red Wolves over there. And then the third one, it's a boxing event that's over there. Now, we have the contracts on these that we're in the process of signing, and of course, one of the stipulations in our contracts deal with social distancing and things of that nature. So we make sure we take care of that. These 3 resolutions are coming before the council because when we made the change in the beer ordinance this last time, the special events ordinance, we have in there that it could, you know, that city council could also authorize these permits on city property. Before, it just said city council would authorize. We put could also authorize so that the beer board could do it as well. But just with the timing of this, we had plenty of time. We decided to just go ahead and have council look at these.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions on either one of these 3 resolutions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I believe it's outside because it'll be utilizing the soccer fields, I believe. We'll know more about that when it actually comes up in 2 weeks. Because they'll have to come and present that.
Boxing will be in the arena.
Yes. Correct, because they have the servers. They're the ones that have the experience.
Insurance, or are they going to be able to use the concessions agreement?
I would assume they can use the insurance provided for the concessions agreement.
Okay. Back in February of this year, done some changing of the beer orders.
Mm-hmm.
This WIT motion for Section 8, 220, Section 3C. To remove the last 4 words of Section 3 by the City Council, and the report is to be reviewed by the City Council. So, deleted the whole Section 3.9, which passed. Everything in this right here passed, and this is where we added certain spots. So, are we even supposed to be considering this, or is this goes back to the beer board?
I'm pretty sure you can consider it. Since I don't have that in front of me, I will look to see what you're referring to, and I'll have an answer because we've got 2 weeks. Okay.
Ordinance number 1125.
Because I vaguely remember you brought that up, that there was a conflict in the way it was written, but the intent, and I believe the way it passed, was that it could either go to the beer board or to the city council, but I will check that. No, I was to add them.
Well, the reason why, and another thing too, the reason why I'm saying that is
So while you're looking, are you saying that that means that the motion stuff doesn't match what the final ordinance was that was signed?
well, there's ordinance number 1125 final, and it says, Mayor Williams stated these issues were delegated to the beer board.
Depends on what the issues are. I'll have to look at that.
Yeah, okay.
Since I don't have it in front of me, I'll have to look at that.
The way I remembered, it was took out of our hands and put into the beer board's hands to issue these.
Thank you for clarifying that. And then let us know. That's all we have on the tentative agenda for the next council meeting. Is there anything else we need to add or discuss?
Are there any reason why we couldn't have a, how did he word it, for the community to come for a public meeting, Lansdale Park, before the public hearing? The week before?
I'm sorry?
Or something? Could we have a public meeting for the public hearing, maybe the week before?
Well, what would the public meeting be for? If we're doing a public hearing where they're going to ask their questions, what would the public meeting be for?
Answer is no.
I didn't say no. I just asked what would the public meeting be for?
It would be for Lansdale citizens to give us their opinion before we vote on it the second.
That's the purpose of the public hearing, because the public hearing's before you vote. Right? Am I?
No, we will have a public
Yeah.
hearing.
Be a public hearing before the vote.
Yeah.
Which provides an opportunity for the citizens to come and ask questions.
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? If not, I'll adjourn this meeting and we will proceed over to our public meeting for the conversion. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Meeting adjourned.